Hi everyone, so yesterday I started studying loops. Since 1 week I am studying Python 3. It's a prerequisite for a cybersecurity bootcamp that is offered by Jeddah, and we started it last Saturday. It was crazy cool. That's the first time actually I do a bootcamp and something in cybersecurity also. And the best part, one of the really cool things was to install Kali Linux. That's the first time I installed Linux, and play a little bit with it. But the really cool part, the stuff I really enjoyed was the CTF, capture the flag. I was not expecting something like this, and the cool thing is that there's a lot of CTF planned for the next courses, for the next sessions, for the next bootcamp sessions. And I'm really pumped about that. That was really cool. Like I could feel the brain smoke, and it was pretty basic stuff. It's not like something crazy hard because this is a bootcamp, cybersecurity bootcamp for beginners. But my brain was pretty. The activity in my brain was pretty intense, and I enjoyed it like crazy. So one of the really cool things that I discovered Sunday is that we have access to all the paper material already. So they uploaded all the written text. We study different topics in the cybersecurity bootcamp. It's a step-by-step process, and we have access to this education the material, the educational material online, and then with the teachers we go through the material, and you interact with questions, you work in team on project and stuff like this. But there is already a big thing that we can have access to. I'm gonna start a timer, so it's gonna give me an idea of how long my video is, and just checking if the record is on. And so the thing that really excites me is that we also have access. I think I didn't try yet to the CTF. We have the logins, the IP to which we need to connect, and if we really have access right now to it, that's very cool. So the thing I'm gonna do when I'm done with this Python course is that I'm gonna go through the material and do the CTF step by step. Basically, there is 7 sessions, one every Saturday for 6 hours, and there is 1 CTF every session. So plan is to go through the material and do the CTF, and do the CTF again and again and again. That's the idea I have right now. Let's see how it's gonna evolve. But I really like this kind of thing. I really enjoy it. You really need to think. I really need to think harder than usual, be more creative, and it develop a lot of important skills. The ability to you can develop your ability to look for information, to think critically, to resolve puzzles and stuff like this, which is crazy important for for the daily life, right? So I started studying loops, and I made a first video actually yesterday. So my plan is, so I'm using Codecademy mostly right now since 2 months. So since I started doing practicing coding daily, I use Codecademy, and so at first you have a lesson, then you have quiz, and you have project. And I filmed myself yesterday night doing the project, but it took much more time than planned, and my brain was. It was really hard for me at the end of the project to just think. There was one question. I can do it like this. This one, yeah. I stayed on it for 25 minutes, and after a while I was like, okay, I'm just gonna cut the record now, and maybe I'm gonna post it, maybe not. So I took the decision to not post it. But this morning I plug in my computer, I turn on my computer. I go through the project one more time, and then this question didn't even take me 5 minutes to resolve. I looked at the code I did yesterday actually at first, the first thing I did when I turned on my computer was to look at the code I did yesterday, and I found the answer instantly. It was so obvious. Yeah. So the idea right now is to go through this project one more time and film myself doing it. So 13 questions. It's about the freezer. Sorry, hairdresser, freezer, it's in German. So now I'm gonna create a folder. Oh yeah, Carly's clipper, Carly clipper. So I'm gonna use Emac and the command line. So now I go to this file, then I create, sorry. Sometimes it's hard for me to think and do something, speak and do something at the same time, see? So I'm gonna create my Python file, and then I'm gonna create a README file because I want to upload this thing to GitHub. So the reason why I do echo is because I'm gonna create a readme.md file, so presentation file for the project I'm building, so for this program. So it's gonna be a file that explains what this program does. And right now I'm saying, okay, this text between this, I don't know how to explain it in English, you're gonna put it, inject it into this file. It's not created already. You see, nothing. But by doing this, it's gonna be created. So you say, okay, inject in this file, this content, and if the file is not present, it's gonna be created, you see? Okay, so right now, I'm gonna open a second tab, and with the first one, I'm gonna use Emacs, it's a text editor, to work on my project. 5 minutes already. Okay, let's go. So first we have those variables. So hairstyles, a different kind of hairstyle that we have, then the prices, then how many items we sold last week. So this item at the index 0, so we have a list. The first index is index 0, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 8 items. So this one is index 0, this one is index 7, but it's also index -1. You can read a list from left to right using positive indexes, and from right to left using negative indexes. When you read from left to right, you start at 0. When you read from right to left, you start at -1. So here -1, -2, -3, -4, up, -8, and here 0, 7. And this item, index 0, is linked to this index 0 item, linked to this index 0 item. So now let's do the test. So basically we just need to play with this data and display different things. So I did this project 2 times. Yeah. So the really cool thing is that yesterday it was very complicated for me. I mean, it's definitely the hardest concept so far. I had to understand all these loops and what's the name already? List comprehension. It was pretty hard for me to. Harder than usual, not pretty hard. I mean, it depends who you compare that to, but it was harder than usual for me. So Carly wants to be able to market her low prices. We want to find out what the average price of a cut is. So first, let's sum up all the price, create a variable total price, and set it to 0. So first, we create this variable. We set it to 0 because we're gonna add some stuff into it. So this is done. Loop through the prices list and add each price to the variable total price. So we're gonna use this for each price in the prices list. We do something. So here we call that price, but we call that like I don't know, cup of tea, melon, book, car, however you want. That's a temporary variable that is created just to allow us to create a loop, just to create a specific task. And once this task is over, the program is gonna just like put it on the side and not take care of it anymore. loop through the prices. So for price in prices, we want to add each price of the list prices, so this one, to this variable, right? So it means that at first we want to add 30, then we want to add 25, then we want to add 40. So that's why we create a loop. First the program will take this value, add it to this variable, then this value, add it to this variable. So because we want to add items to a variable, we put the variable to which we want to add. So this is like an update. You can think of this as an update symbol. Oops. And price. Okay, so that means that for each price in prices, you take the price and you add it to total price. And then we do this over and over and over and over. And once the program has gone through each item, it stops. I mean, this loop stuff, sorry, maybe I broke your ears with this one. And then, only then, when the loop is finished, it's gonna print this. Let's check if it works. Python, Clippers, 255, and that's the total price. Okay, good. So this is done. After you loop, create a variable called average price that is the total price divided by the number of prices. So average price equal total price divided by the number of prices. But how do we calculate the number of prices? So by the number of prices, that means that here, if you count, we have 8 prices, 8 different prices. So the average price, we divide the total price, we divide the total price by 8, but we cannot just put 8 like this. We need to, I mean, we could, of course, but the goal is not to do it like this. The goal is to make your work harder than that. So you can get the number of prices using the length function. So let's try using the length function because I'm not that familiar with it. And let's try by printing this. We save and we see if it works. Yes, that's it. 32. So that's it. So length, function length prices, take the list and we'll say, okay, in this list there is 8 items. It doesn't say there is 8 items, it says that the length of prices is 8. So this is an integer inside here. So that's why, I mean, this whole thing will output an integer. So this whole thing equal 8 right now, here. Okay, so this is why it prints the total price, 255 divided by 8. Print the value of average price, so the output looks like this. So now we're gonna add a string and say average haircut price with a space, with a space, to which we're gonna add average price, but average price right now is an integer. This is this, right? This is a float, sorry. So this is a number, and the number, when you use print, you cannot add, you can add strings and float, but you need to convert that into, we have a string here, we cannot convert it to a float or to an integer, right? So we need to convert this one to a string, and how do we do that? We just put string in front of it, and it's gonna use this input and turn it into a string. And I'm just realizing that I made a mistake here. I save. Works. Ah, you know what? We're gonna add a dollar price. Better. And next, print The average price is more expensive than Carly thought it would be. She wants to cut all the prices by $5. So she wants to take each one of those prices and subtract 5 from it. Use a list comprehension to make a list called new prices, which has element in prices minus 5. So list comprehension is basically putting this on one line. So that's gonna have the value. So for now, we set it to 0. So now we created an empty list. We declared the list, which has element, and I'm gonna first create a code like this, a loop, and then I'm gonna put this loop and turn it into a one-line sentence. So we're gonna use the same as here for price in prices, and we're gonna take price minus 5, boom, and then print. So for each item, step by step, loop by loop, we're gonna reduce the price by 5 for price in prices, and we're gonna add that to the list. So we could do it in both ways. I'm gonna show you 2 ways. So how can I add something to a list? Wait, yeah, I'm gonna start like this. New prices, append. I'm gonna use append. And what am I gonna append? I'm gonna append the price minus 5. And then, so let's check like this first if my function is good. Then if I see that my loop is good, then I'm gonna erase this and put it differently. I'm gonna explain you something. Yes, you see? 25 is the first one, 30 is the last one. Let's compare, should be 5 more here. 25, 30, yes, 25 to 30 and 30 to 35, that's it. So it works. So now I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna say that each index that is gonna be created in this list is gonna contain this code. So how do I do that? I say that each price, each time you encounter an index here, you put it here, and that will be equal to price minus 5 for price in prices. So it's exactly the same. Each time you see a price in the list prices, you add this content. And I'm gonna comment that out, save, test, boom. Does exactly the same, right? So we have our list comprehension, and this is equal to this. You can do it both ways, but this is pretty clean. So we did 5 and 6. Carly really wants to make sure. Yesterday night it was definitely harder for me to do. And I like to do that when I encounter a test that is hard for me, or I need to think much harder than usual. I like to do it like few more times. And ideally I space the repetition, meaning that I will put 24 or 48 hours between each time I do the test. And this is also why I want to do the CTF once again that we did Saturday, because it took me, I don't know, 45 minutes, 1 hour to do, and I'm gonna do it like 2 more times. I did the same for the entrance test of the Holberton Computer Science School. The whole curriculum that we had to do over 2 weeks, I did it once again. So I could like really grasp the concept pretty good. Yeah, maybe in the future I'm gonna do things differently, I have no idea, but for now it works pretty good. So I learned from the book Ultra Learning from Scott Young. I didn't have this mindset before about learning, so I needed to read a few books about learning. I read 4 books about learning last year, and in the book Ultra Learning from Scott Young, he talked about how ultra learner, people that like to learn stuff, different stuff, like for example, they will learn physics and they will learn music, then they will learn, I don't know, tango, a little bit like Tim Ferriss likes to do. Yeah, there's a lot of people who do these kind of things for science, mathematics, programming, languages. They're just less popular. And And he used to talk, Scott Young used to, in the book, talk quite a lot about how people adjust their learning, how they like look at their learning method and are like, okay, right now should I keep this learning method? Should I switch to a different one? Why should I switch? Why is this learning method? Why don't I make as much progress as before and things like this? So it's like constant question. I mean, not constant question, but question that you're going to ask yourself from time to time. The video is 18 minutes long. I'm gonna keep going. Carly really wants to make sure that Carly's Clipper is a profitable endeavor. She first wants to know how much revenue was brought in last week, a variable total revenue, and set it to 0. Oh yeah, this one made me think a little bit harder. Also, total revenue. Use a for loop to create a variable I that goes from 0 to lens hairstyle. You can use range to do this. Let me use Python here and see range 8 should output, I think output 0, 8. Yes, range 0, 8. And then when I do, if I want to turn that into a list, so range 8 meaning that we have number the first let me show you. I don't know how to explain it really good right now, so I'm just gonna, so right now this, if you want to turn that into a list, so having 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then use the list function and puff. So you have 8 numbers in it, right? So this is what we're gonna use here. She first wants to, okay, so this we did. You can use range. You can use range. Ah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. For I, so they ask us to create a variable, temporary variable I. For I in list range 8 or range 8. Could have used range 8. I don't think I can use range 8. Can't remember. Probably cannot use that. Let me check. Control D to exit Python. Line 26. Expected intended block. Indented block. So this one. I know how to do it correctly actually, but I just want to try something else. Use a for loop to create that goes from 0. You can use range to do this, and add the product of prices and last week to total revenue at each step. So it means that at each loop we're gonna take prices I. I'm gonna explain you what it means. And multiply it by last week I, and then print total revenue. What do you do? Okay, let's try like this. I think there's gonna be an error. Oh no, not even. Did I multiply or did I add? I multiplied. Okay, so it works like this actually. Cool. But we're gonna do it also differently. Lens hairstyle. Let me just check something. So we can do it like this. You can use range to do this. Oh yeah, sure. So we just used range. We just used range 8, right? But the equivalent to range 8 will be range of lens hairstyle. Why? Because lens hairstyle is equal to 8. So when we put this as an input of range, we're gonna have the same thing as range 8, right? So this is why, look, up, that's gonna do the same thing. No, range is not defined. Maybe there's an E, yes. Works, right? So here we have the same, what was that? It's cluttered now. Where did we have it? Okay, here. Right, here we used range 8 and here we use range length hairstyle. So I'm gonna clear that. And boom, go here. So, done. 23 minutes. Let's accelerate a little bit. Add the product of prices to the prices and the number of people to total revenue at each step. So this is what we did. So each step of the loop, we take prices at index I and we multiply it by last week at index I. So last week means that Bouffon cost $30 and has been sold twice last week, right? So we do 2 times 30 plus 3 times 25 plus 5 times 40, blah, blah, blah. We don't use the new prices because those total revenue or the total revenue of the last week. And at this time we didn't reduce the price by $5, right? And I just mean for each item in range 8. So for each item in a list of length 8, right? So for example, when I equals 0, it will check the index 0 and take 30. So price is I and multiply it by 2, which is last week I, right? So we're gonna, for example, when I equals 0, we take the prices at index 0 and the element in the prices list at index 0 and multiply it by the element in the last week list at index 0. And then we take index, and then the next loop, we take index 1, next loop, index 2, etc. Not crazy clear explanation, but if you have any questions, just ask and I will make it clearer in the comments. After you loop, print the value of total revenue so that the output looks like this. Okay, so let's take it here because I wanna make total revenue, I wanna add the dollar sign, and same thing as earlier, total revenue is an integer. We saw 1085, so we turn it into a string so we can print everything on the same line without any trouble. So this is done. Find the average daily revenue by dividing total revenue by 7. Call this number average daily revenue and print it out. So average daily revenue equal total revenue divided by 7 and print it out. So we're gonna make nice print. Average daily revenue, I don't put caps. Total revenue, yes. We add the dollar sign. Plus we will turn, right, that will be a float or an integer. And so we need to turn it into a string. And that's it. Let's check if it works. Yes, average daily revenue. This doesn't look so good, right? And 255 neither, so I'm just gonna remove it, comment it out, and print new prices, comment it out, average haircut, total revenue, average daily revenue, looks cleaner. They don't ask us to do that, but I'm free to do what I want and shows you different things at the same time. And even if the project tells me to do something this way, as long as I can do what they ask me, I can be creative behind, right? The most important thing is to understand. So I always, I don't know, I just like to do, what I want, I guess. So now, this is a question I was stuck like half an hour yesterday. Carly thinks she can bring in more customers by advertising all the haircut she has that are under $30. So we want to have a variable that will print a message saying, hey, our haircut under $30 or this one, this one, and this one, and this one. Use the list comprehension, so the same thing, this one line thing, right? But first, I will create an empty list then I will use the code, create some code here. It's for me for clarity, right? And also for you, but I like to process like this. Cut under 30. So we're gonna create a list first, empty list, and then we're gonna use the for loop. So use a comprehension list to create a list cut under 30 that has the entry hairstyle I for each I for which new price is less than 30. You can use range in your list comprehension to make I go from 0 to length new prices. So length new prices equal 8. And -1, that means that each loop wait, you can use to make I go from 0 to length -1, yeah, because we're gonna start at length 8 and then we will move to length 7, basically to length 6, 5 until 0. You can use range in your list comprehension. Actually, I realized that I didn't see that yesterday when I did it, and this morning neither. I just like I output something that was good, but it was not using this. So right now I need to sync again. And good. Hope I didn't break your ears with this ears. So use the list comprehension code that has an entry hairstyle I for which new prices you can use. Okay, I understand. For I in range. Okay, we're gonna use the same for I in range 8, so we can use range 8 or this one, but let's be a little bit more fancy. And we're gonna say that so what we want is to display only the cuts that are under $30. So we need to add another condition. If hairstyle at the index I, so we're gonna start at index 0, right? So when I will be 0, hairstyle I, the index here will not be I, the index will be 0. So it's gonna check this one. And if no, actually that's not correct. If new price is I, so in the list new prices index 0, if what we have at index 0 is inferior to 30, then we're gonna do something. Then at index 1, if it's inferior to 30, then we want to store the value that is associated in the hairstyle list. And what we want is to add each item from hairstyle I, which has its price under 30, to this list, right? So we're gonna use append hairstyles of the index 1 to it, and each rotation damn, I forgot this one. So this one will output. We'll output the haircut that have their prices under 30. It's going to make I go from 0 to length new prices -1. Okay. I don't know if we need to insert that. First, let's do it differently. Then once I have done everything, I will check the answer. Because actually, until now, I didn't check a single hint here. So that's the thing I really push on. I really try to understand things, and only when I'm completely blocked, I check. Yeah. So first, let's check if our loop is correct, and then if our loop is correct, I'm gonna put all this into this and comment out this, right? Yeah. Yes, that's it. Okay, so it works. Bouffon, let's check if it's really under 30. That was a goal, right? Bouffon is at 30. but the new price was 25, reduced by 5, right? So it's good. Then Pixie was at 25, has been reduced to 20, it's under 30. Then Dreadlocks is 40, has been reduced to 35, so we shouldn't see it in the list, the cut under 30, that's it, it's not here. And then Crew and Ball are at 20, 20. Yeah, so that's it, we have the proper stuff. So now, and I'm gonna print it differently. So now, what do I wanna see? They don't ask us to do that, but I want to display because this is my haircutter shop, right? So I'm gonna say, hey, haircut under $30. I'm gonna create a message. Then this cuts under 30 is it's a list, so I'm gonna turn that into a string. Up, poof, haircuts under $30, boom, works. So now I want to say, I want to put all this in this list and then I'm done. Basically print cuts under 30, so this is done. So let me show you first. So cuts under 30, append, hairstyle I. So each loop I append hairstyle I. So I don't need to write cuts under 30 dot append hairstyle I because I'm already in the list cuts under 30, right? So I don't need to write cuts under 30 dot append because just by writing this, I'm telling the computer each loop, if you find something that has this condition, then you put it here by writing this, right? And then I'm gonna say for I in range len, and if I don't make any syntax error, it's gonna work. If new prices under 30, so up, save, comment that out so it's not taken into consideration, and it's gonna work. Good, doesn't work. List and integer. Which line is it? Cuts under 30 equal SRF for in range less FAs, new prices. Paste and integer. Oh, yeah, that's not new prices, that new price is I, the new price, because when I say new prices, it's the list. But if I say new price is I, I'm saying the item that is inside the list. So I want the item in the list, not the whole list. So now it's gonna work. Boom. So that's it, so it's finished. I could cut right now. Maybe I'm gonna cut later on the video, I don't know. So so here, yeah, wanted to check if they offer a different solution. No, they offer exactly the same thing. New list equal all list I, hairstyle I. The all list is hairstyle, right? That we use for to create this one, to create the new list. For I in range length whole list, different if different list, so another list, new prices, inferior to such a number, so they give you that. So yeah, that's it. And now what am I gonna do? I'm gonna, an exercise I started is that I like to comment things, you know, like for example here, I don't know, new prices list declaration. So it helps me improve my understanding and comprehension and visualization of the thing. So I started commenting everything. So not only it helps me better understand what I'm doing, but also people will come and check the Git repository, because that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna create a Git repository, upload all this project with a picture to my Git repository, and let me show you something real quick. So I created today my README templates. That means that every time I create a README, so I create a repository, I join a README file so people can have an idea of what the program is. So let me show you Emacs Clippers, not Emacs Clippers, Emacs README. So here I'm taking the content. Oh, not this actually, not with the numbers. Oh, okay, cool. And then I fill it here. What does it do? Prints, few list about, I don't know, haircut business, something like this. So that's it. And then I upload everything, and yeah, that's it. I think that's enough for today. Have a good one.